Welcome to Not a Roofers podcast, where we discuss roofing
without all the jargon. I'm Brianna.
And I'm Charity.
And this is today's episode.
Hello and welcome back to Not a Roofers podcast. Today we are discussing underlayment. Bri, do you got a term for us?
You mean the definition?
Yes, a definition, not a term. Sorry. Do you have a definition for us?
I always have a definition for us. So underlayment is a noun. It is material laid beneath or between a subfloor and a finished floor of linoleum, or between roofing shingles and the roofing deck, because underlayment is used in flooring and roofing. So what it actually is, in the way that we're going to be discussing it today, is it is a layer of material placed on the roof deck and under the shingles. So that's what we're working with today.
Okay. Well, I will be honest, I did not know what underlayment was before looking it up. As most roofing terms, I work in a roofing industry and don't know what half the terms are. But that's okay. That is why we are learning, so that you can learn.
What's interesting is, learning about underlayment. Of course, you hear about these terms. I've heard underlayment in a couple of things that I've looked up before, which is why we thought it would be a good term to talk about. But learning more about it, if you've ever seen a roof getting done in the summertime usually, and you're driving by and you see that paper, and it usually has words on it or whatever as they're roofing, that is underlayment.
That's what it is.
That's what underlayment is.
Waterproofing, I thought they legit took it off when they put the shingles down, because I thought it was just a waterproofing material. Just when we were driving by, obviously not now, but driving by houses and seeing that, I'm like, oh, they're just protecting it while they're not on the roof right now.
Yeah, no, that is paper, and it is to waterproof. That is, I guess we'll jump ahead to what underlayment does, but underlayment is there as a protective, waterproof, or water-resistant barrier, and so it gets put on the roof, and so while they're working on the roof, it protects the roof a little bit, but it does stay under the shingles. So that's what I think is interesting, because growing up, we saw that all the time.
Yeah.
Even now, you see it all the time in the summer. And so, yeah, that is basically what underlayment is.
I would be interested to find out if they actually use underlayment in every state, because I cannot tell you if I've actually driven by a new property and seen it on any current construction sites.
At least from the research I've done, all I can tell is that underlayment is used in residential roofing, and I would believe that it's everywhere because it's a water resistant material, and so you would expect that it is going to be used everywhere. It might look differently though, because I know growing up, a lot of them are white. It's like white paper with a big logo on it, and you can read it. And I wonder if down by you it's just they're using a different kind.
So we're using the term paper, but underlayment is not just this huge
no
paper. No, it is not made from paper.
But it looks like paper from
it looks like paper,
road.
but it is not paper. It is felt, or it is a synthetic material. I think you found that it could also be
rubber. Yeah. So I found, and this is where Charity and I differ. And I think that'll be interesting to just note in the podcast in total. We're doing our own research on this. We're also asking, the owner and the technician guys who work for Roof Medics if we have any questions. But we're searching in two different areas, so we're actually finding different information. Just know that, the information you find when you're researching does always depend on where you're located. So I found that there are three main types that are used, and they're called asphalt saturated felt, rubberized asphalt, and non-bitumen synthetics. And Charity, what ones did you find?
I only found felt and synthetic.
Okay.
And I wonder if that does differ not only that we're doing our own research, but also location wise.
Mm-hmm.
Like we might not use that in the rubber one in Oklahoma. That just might not be a thing that we use down here.
Who knows? So I have just a general snippet of what each of these are. So asphalt saturated felt is sometimes called roofing felt or felt paper. And it's the first type of underlayment material that people usually go to. And, we were calling it paper, and it does function like tar paper, but it's saturated with asphalt, and it has a waterproofing ingredient that works to waterproof. Rubberized asphalt are sheets of rubber that also repel water, of course, and it's similar to roofing membranes that are used on flat roofs. And I know we talked about those. That'd be like EPDM, PVC, kind of like those feels. The interesting thing about rubberized asphalt is that, unlike the asphalt saturated felt and the non-bitumen synthetics, since rubberized asphalt is similar to roofing membranes, it actually does have to be applied to the roof deck with special adhesives. So that is maybe why, not a lot of places use it. And then non-bitumen synthetics, it's a newer material, and it is made from hard wearing plastics like polyethylene and polypropylene, and um, so it's not using asphalt or anything, which is why it's synthetic. And it is a newer underlayment on the market for roofing. So those are the difference. Asphalt saturated is made with asphalt and has like a tar feel to it. Rubberized asphalt is similar to plastic and rubber roofing membranes, and non-bitumen synthetics use material like polyethylene and polypropylene to make it. So it's just a newer underlayment in the roofing industry.
And like all roofing materials, there are pros and cons to using the different types. To just go over some of them really quickly, some pros to the felt is the cost. It's really the most budget friendly option. So a lot of the newer constructions are going to have just felt underlayment because that's their cheapest option, and construction likes to be cheap. I mean, it does. It likes to be cheap. Um, and then pros for the synthetic is that it is tough, it's fast to install, it's mostly safe, and then it does repel water, along with being lighter and moisture resistant.
A thing with rubber is that it is good at being a waterproofing substance, and so I could definitely see where rubber could be used in certain instances. But based on all of my research, and it sounds like your research too, Charity, you're most likely going to find asphalt saturated felt or non-bitumen synthetics are the ones being used. But there are also cons. Well, not so much cons to underlayment.
But no, there's cons. Like, we're still going to use them, but there's still things that go wrong with
I
them.
wouldn't say that they're cons. I wouldn't say that they're cons, because the thing is that underlayment, like, it doesn't matter what underlayment you use, they're all going to come down to the same couple of things that go wrong. So I would say the way that underlayment ends up causing roof problems are as follows. If you get poor quality underlayment, because as with anything, there's high quality, there's low quality. So if you end up going with the poorest quality because you're like, well, it's the cheapest, you can expect that in the future you are likely to have problems because it's just not made at the quality it should be. Poor installation. I feel like with everything we talk about, it always comes back to poor installation is going to cause problems. So make sure that you're working with a certified contractor, make sure that you're working with people you trust. and that you know that if a mistake is made, that they will come back and fix the problem. Underlayment, even though it is water resistant and waterproofing, if it gets old enough, it will end up getting saturated with water, and for a leak to happen, it does have to get saturated with water or have a tear in it or something so that the water can get through. And it is most likely to start declining for a couple of reasons. So, with underlayment, one of the biggest things is that heat and UV rays really tear down the properties within the underlayment. So it all goes back to chemistry, and I'm not the chemistry person. You're not the chemistry person. So it's not like we can speak on it a ton, but you know, the atoms, I guess, that would make up all of these all of the properties within the underlayment, if that substance is broken down by a certain heat temperature, it's going to get broken down. Once it's broken down, the underlayment's just not going to work as well as it should. And then once that happens, of course, problems will arise. And then I thought this one was really funny. But pests, if certain animals, get into the roofing system somehow, they can cause problems, cause holes, tears, rips, whatever it would be. And in all of my research, I actually found that raccoons are the most likely to cause underlayment problems.
I was just about to mention my raccoons. So, like we talked about in the flashing episode, they like to tear up the flashing. Well, if they tear up your flashing, which is metal, it's pretty easy for them to tear through everything else as well.
Yeah. So pests are another thing. And when this happens, it's time to replace the underlayment. And just like with everything else with a roof, underlayment is not going to last forever. So you are going to need new underlayment eventually. So Charity, what are some of the reasons why people would need to get new underlayment?
Well, you would need to get new underlayment if you got a new roof. If you're doing a whole tear off rebuild, like you're not gonna reuse your underlayment because there's gonna be just wear on it, and then when you hammer shingles in, you're hammering into the underlayment. So now you have whole like that's just gonna create a whole bunch of problems. So if you get a new roof, if your roof warranty needs either new underlayment or like proof of repair of the underlayment, and then insurance claims. I'm not even going to try to get into what your insurance is going to do with that. And then just normal problems with underlayment, tears, holes, leaking. You can't reuse your underlayment. You're going to need to get something new underneath.
Yeah, and we're gonna end off here before we get to our definition, because this is really all that we found on underlayment. But a thing that I would like everyone to know, there is only one way for underlayment to be replaced, and that is to have all of the shingles taken up, the underlayment taken off, new underlayment put on, and then you can either, if your roof shingles are good, you can put the old shingles back on. If you're needing new shingles, of course, put new shingles back on. But there's no other way to replace the underlayment. It is an entire process that can take a long time, and like it's time consuming. It can be potentially dangerous. I mean, the underlayment does protect your roof a little bit, but it's a process, and it's a hard process, but it's one that has to happen. So just so you all know, that is what will happen when underlayment fails or you need new underlayment for whatever reason. So I believe that's all we have on underlayment. Let's get into our definition. Underlayment is a protective layer between the roof deck and the shingles,
made of synthetic rubber or felt.
Yeah. Okay. So underlayment is a protective layer between the roof deck and the shingles that is made of asphalt, rubber, or synthetic materials. I think that's a pretty good pretty good.
Simple to the point.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you for joining us today. We hope you learned something. We definitely did. If you have any questions, always feel free to let us know. Send an email to marketing@riffmedics.com or reach out to us on our Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, however you feel you can get a hold of us. We would love to answer any questions or learn about something new in the roofing industry with you. Until then, we will see you next time.
Bye.
That brings us to the end of today's episode. If you've been loving what you're hearing, make sure to press the subscribe button so you get notified anytime we post a new episode. Episodes come out on Monday and Fridays. Please feel free to share this podcast with a friend. We'd love everybody to be able to join us and learn more about the roofing industry as we go along on this journey. If you don't already, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. I will put all of our information down in the show notes below. Feel free to contact us with any questions or any roofing ideas that you would love for us to talk about. I hope you have a great day, and we will see you next time.